Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the YouTube channel. My name, of course, is John Campea, and this is a special all-spoiler installment here talking about Mandalorian Season 2, The Passenger. Just want to give you guys a heads up in case I didn't already make it clear. This is going to be an open spoiler discussion. So we are going to talk about last night's or this morning's episode of The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 2, The Passenger, in a fully open, fully spoiler-filled discussion, okay? You've been warned. All right, so here's how this is going to happen. We are going to talk about our thoughts. Anne is here with me. I'll introduce her in a second. We're going to talk about our thoughts for the first couple of minutes, and then we're going to use the rest of our remaining time here, taking your comments and your questions and your thoughts about the show. You can just use the Superchat feature in YouTube there if you are watching live. And for now, without getting too carried away, Anne is here with us, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello,
sweetheart. And you, and of course, baby, the child is here.
The child, he was sleeping a minute ago.
The child was sleeping, and now the child is awake, and of course, the child has to be here for this. So, last night, it was about 10:30 at night, and we get up around 6.
Yeah.
So it's 10:30 at night, and we had a decision to make. Are we going to stay up and watch Mandalorian? Are we going to go to bed? And I looked at my watch. It's like, okay, it's 6:38. I kind of thought to myself, if I look at my watch right now, it's like before 6:30, I'm going to go to bed. If it's after 6:30, I'm going to stay awake. And it looks like 6:30. I said, well, honey, might as well just stay up another hour and a half.
I remember you saying, I think I'm just going to go to bed and try to get up early and watch it.
Initially,
and then quickly change your tune to, well.
You had gotten closer and you start thinking,
8 minutes later.
Maybe I want to stay up and watch this thing. So anyway, we made the decision to stay up and watch it. And I'm glad that
totally
we did,
worth it,
for a number of reasons. Now, this episode, The Passenger, there are some people that didn't like this episode.
Oh,
I know. But I mean, like, there were a couple episodes I didn't love last season too.
True.
I got to tell you guys, I loved this episode. Anne and I were like smiling and cheering and talking, and I had a blast with this episode. So let's start walking through this episode a little bit here. Okay, so it starts pretty much right where it left off last week after the Marshall episode. And somebody decides to pull the old clothesline trick on Mando. And it sounded like, was it just me? It didn't seem like they were just random bandits. It sounded like they were actually after the child. Because didn't one of them say something like,
yeah, grab the child.
Grab the child. Did you get that impression that they were there specifically for Baby Yoda?
I believe at least the two that get knocked out, they knew what they were after. Because to your point, I think one of them did say grab the child. But then the third one, the one that ended up surviving and grabbing Baby Yoda, I think was more out for a bounty or some sort of payoff in the whole thing. So
yeah, what was clear, the moment he put a knife to Baby Yoda's throat, I'm like, well, he's dead. Yeah. There's no way Din or Mando is letting him walk away from that. Like, he's clearly dead. I just thought he was going to shoot him, but he used the jetpack as remote control.
That was great.
That was pretty good. But here's the key thing for me in that scene. It was the first time in 1 season and 2 episodes that we had really seen, in a demonstrative way, the affection that Baby Yoda has for Mando. Like, yeah, he reached out to heal him once, and he did stop the Rhinosaurus, whatever the name of that thing was. But once the last guy's dead, like, the way Baby Yoda, like, arms out, ran to Mando. You almost cried. You were like,
so cute.
Why is it so cute?
There was a lot of Baby Yoda in this episode.
There was. Sometimes very cute, sometimes a little mischievous.
Yeah.
But like, some people say like, oh, it was a filler episode. I'm like, I don't know if you understand what a filler episode is. Like, a filler episode is like, we have nothing else really to do here. There's so much that there was so much that got accomplished in this episode, like between strengthening from a character narrative point of view, really strengthening the bonds between Mando and Baby Yoda to a level that we haven't had before. And I think a lot of people still don't understand, still don't grasp what the nature of this show is. This show is a gritty old episodic Western where, yeah, there's an overarching story. There is. But every episode is the adventure. Every episode is the next adventure. And when you go back to some of the classic Western shows, that's exactly how they were done, right? And like, even with the overarching story, in this episode, like last episode, Mando's lead on finding another Mandalorian went bust. He found Marshall, but he didn't find any other leads of other Mandalorians. Mm-hmm. This one, he gets his next lead to where he can find Mandalorians. But there's a complication. In any good story, there's a complication. He's got to take this passenger. Right? He's got to take this passenger, which, by the way, this passenger is also pretty damn cute. I brought it up on the screen here. This frog lady.
Second favorite.
You play...
Animal Crossing.
You play an obscene amounts of Animal Crossing. And the moment...
It was like come to life. I couldn't believe... outside of Baby Yoda being so cute, I'm like, why is this lady so... cute? This frog woman is so adorable.
So, yeah, and I said to me, it's like she looks like one of your neighbors on Animal Crossing.
I know she does.
Right?
And then I have tears in my eyes right now thinking how cute these two are. But yeah.
So there comes a complication. Mm-hmm. There's something you got to do. You got to transport this, and then they threw in a plot device. Can't use hyperspace.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reasons, hyperspace will destabilize the eggs.
Felt like a Firefly episode also.
It was very much like a Firefly episode. Mm-hmm. Now that you mention it, yeah. So they do that, they get on the trip, and complications come. Now this comes where the other big major thing for Mandalorian happens that we haven't learned before. And we'll talk about this in a second. He comes across some X-Wing fighters, some government things. We have not really had a picture painted for us yet in this show about what is Mando's place in the galaxy right now.
Yeah.
And this was the first time that not only did he get his new lead, not only did they give us the bonding moments between things, now we also get our first picture about Mando's developing a reputation throughout the galaxy. And beyond that, there was a little bit of a darker side, hence the X-Wings wanted to go after him, but then a little bit of a lighter side later on. Find out you also try to save the life of I almost said Federation. That's a Star Trek thing. You try to save the life of a Republic officer.
Yeah.
And that you brought in these three and blah, blah, blah. And so we start to get a picture of what is Mando's place in the galaxy as a whole. That's another thing that they accomplished. I mean, there was so much. And I believe, like a lot of other stuff in this show, this episode set up a number of things that we are going to see again later. Mm-hmm. I think there are things that happen in this episode that will have payoffs later. And so I completely disagree. I mean, it's all subjective. We're allowed to disagree, but I completely disagree that this was a filler episode. I think if you call it a filler episode, you are missing on the really important elements that played in. But yeah, and I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this here. As soon as the X-Wing fighters show up, we see Dave Filoni, which is cool. Then you got to understand, Anna and I love this little show. It's a Canadian television show called Kim's Convenience. It's one of the best shows on TV. And Paul Lee, the guy who plays Mr. Kim, Sneak Attack. He's freaking he's an X-Wing pilot.
So awesome.
And I suddenly remembered, a story from a year ago that he got to visit the set of Mandalorian.
Oh.
I guess it goes beyond
Seems a little odd to just visit like that.
And so, you know what's really funny for me? Hearing him talk without an accent. It was really weird hearing him talk without his Mr. Kim accent.
Yeah.
But he's one of my favorite characters on TV. So that was great. That was really cool to see. Anyway, then it leads to a terrific space chase. They end up on this ice planet, fall through. Okay. There's a moment in this episode where you and I both gasped. Baby Yoda eating the ladies.
Okay, can you recall the events, like the dialogue between us before it happened?
You please recite it.
We're watching, and she's got her babies on the ship, and the first thing I thought of was, doesn't Baby Yoda, because he has a fascination, he's staring at the incubator.
Yeah, I thought he was sensing life or something.
Yeah, and so for a split second, I had the same feeling, and then in an instant, I'm like, wait, doesn't Baby Yoda eat frogs?
And I'm like, yeah, but he's not going to eat the little baby eggs. He's not going to eat the eggs. And then they cut away, especially after they spent so much time.
So good.
represents the annihilation of my family line, of my bloodline. If we don't have these eggs, and my husband has sacrificed everything. And then we cut to Baby Yoda. What? Just like, it's like,
they look like little fish eggs or boba
caviar?
balls. Yeah, or caviar.
They looked at him and looked like caviar. But I guess it was a reminder, Baby Yoda's still a baby.
Yes.
It's not like he made some cold, calculated decision. I'm going to murder this woman's babies.
Right.
He's a baby.
I know.
He saw, oh, look at that. Oh, what? You said it was adorable when I ate the other things, but now I'm all bad. And now I'm the bad Baby Yoda. Nothing in this show has ever made
funny.
Nothing in the previous 9 episodes of this show has ever made me gasp like that. I visibly jumped out of my seat.
You did.
I'm like, what the heck? He's eating the ladies' babies. Well. And he wouldn't stop. He kept going back and kept eating the ladies' eggs.
Oh, it's so good.
Okay, anyway. So then, inevitably something has to happen that separates the party.
Yeah.
And lady finds a hot springs. I didn't know if we were about to see Mando get romantic or something like that.
A little strange. But.
Gets there, very alien, like from Ridley Scott's Aliens, very alien kind of setup then with the eggs. And the alien eggs, I should say. And the spiders come out. And honestly, for me, Mandalorian's been great. There's been some really good action scenes, I have never been thrilled watching an action sequence, like some really good, fun, badass action sequences, but I never felt that thrill. Like I was on the edge of my seat. That entire spider sequence to me, it was legit big screen movie kind of thrills. And it had me several points going, how do they get out of this? And then they cut down another corridor and there's 1,000 more of the spiders there. How do they get out of this? Then they get on the ship, and also that great scene where he's trying to close the door and he's like blowtorching all the things trying to come through, and then and then the big one comes and lands on the ship, and you're like, how did they get out of this? And I just thought it was great. What did you think about that whole sequence of shots with the whole spiders and the chase?
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. I thought it was very different than any of the other scenes that I think we've seen even in season 1 and now going into season 2. And I feel like they took a risk there, right? Like a little bit off in terms of like the consistency of the Western that you talk about.
Right.
It was really actually very creepy. It was really well done.
It was a great action scene of a horror movie.
Yes, that's what it felt like.
It was a horror movie. And that's why I said, to me, it kind of felt like Aliens a little bit. And there's some of the concept art that they had in the post credits. It was legit kind of scary and thrilling. And then I love the way they got out of it was, oh yeah, remember those X-Wings that were looking for them? And they pop back up. And so then you have, Dave Filoni and Paul Lee save the day. And they give that speech to let you know the other side of Mando's reputation. And much like Marshall, I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of those two. I really do. I feel like we have not seen the last of those two. What do you think the chances are we see Paul Lee again at some point?
Oh, it'd be great. I would love to, just because I'm a fan. But I don't know. If it fits in the narrative, I think to your point, like this show is not one to like shy away from bringing characters back if it feels in what the narrative is supposed to be.
Right. So anyway, they get off the planet. They got to seal themselves in the cockpit, and the way the lady frog kind of hugged her can at the end, I didn't know if she realized Baby Yoda was swiping.
I think she did, because didn't she look at it? I thought she looked at it as if there was like a counter on it.
The count's off.
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't know.
It's possible. So and listen, I tell you what, I give it a solid 30% chance we see her again at some point. Like, because a lot of these types of shows, particularly like the Western genre and stuff like that, what I call it secret angel syndrome, where a hero in a TV show or a movie kind of just helps somebody random, but that act of kindness pays off later in the story, be it later in the movie or in a later episode. And I can't help but wonder if that's what's going to happen here.
Well, and we talked about that last week in terms of, Mando's world we're seeing just a small viewpoint of his world, and the 10 people he's come across consistently are in the narrative even into season 2. Like the mechanic continues to be around,
Yes.
right? And so to your point, I think that there's very little, he has very little interaction with new people. And so I think that with each new person they spend time to build like a backstory with, that we can absolutely expect that they would be back in the story in some form, even if it's just to pay back the favor.
By the way, side note, I don't know if you and I haven't talked about this today, because even though you understand, even though Anna and I have both been home all day, I'm literally working all day in here. She's literally working we both work from home. So she's literally working all day in her office. So did you hear that Deadline reported that Boba Fett is going to get his own spin-off series?
Oh, I didn't know if that was a real story or not.
Yeah, it came from Deadline. And so it got me wondering if maybe we don't see the Marshal again in Mandalorian. Maybe we see the Marshal in Boba Fett. But anyway, now I'm getting ahead of myself.
Well, no, and you bring up from the last episode though. Didn't we make predictions on whether Boba Fett would be in this episode?
Yeah, whether he'd be back in another one altogether. Yeah,
I actually strongly thought they would start with him in the beginning, but
one of our viewers, I can't remember which one of our viewers put in this great prediction, said, what if every single episode of Mandalorian this year ends with final shot and then camera turns and there's Mandalorian, or there's Boba Fett, and just walks away every time. At the end of every episode, he's there at the very end and walks away.
And then they play like the same creeper music.
Yeah, the same. It's like, that would be perfect.
Creeper music.
So overall, your general feelings overall about the episode.
Yeah, I think you captured it. I would say there was a lot of personality in this episode, very unique from a lot of the episodes they've done. What I really enjoyed was like even giving the jetpack personality. You know, like that's just it's smart. And the other thing I would say is the narrative is still consistently grounded in a few things, which is the child continues to be something that people are after to acquire. Like there's still a bounty for that.
About that.
That Mando continues to be of honor and of the Mandalorian way. Even when he thought, you know, they didn't have stand a chance because the ship was broken in that cave. You know, she reminded him, this is your promise. I thought Mandalorians keep your promise. So there's still continues to be, even in this episode, which some of you might think is filler, like there's the consistency of the core of the storyline that they continue to weave through, which I would just add on to what John said were some of his favorite parts of the episode too. Oh, and there was a ton of Baby Yoda stuff.
So much Baby Yoda.
Clearly he's hungry.
Always hungry.
I mean, I know there are a lot of shows, they don't focus on when characters eat. You just assume they eat and they go to the bathroom and all those things. But I think Baby Yoda is actually very hungry, and I'm glad that he finally got a meal.
Growing. He's a growing little guy. He's got to eat. Come on. I mean, there's that too. Again, to me, I loved it. It was, everybody forgets, like, there are parts to the journey, and maybe you and I would appreciate this more as role players, because you and I play role playing games with the Star Wars, Dungeons and Dragons, whatever. But it's like the journey to get from here to there is part of the adventure, right? So like Mandalorian finds the next clue to where he's got to go, figures out the destination, and makes the deal that needs to be made to go there. When you're playing a role playing game, that's why, like me, who play a lot of Star Wars role playing game, like it's like, when you're playing a role-playing game and you say, okay, we got to travel to this other galaxy, it's not just, okay, now you're in this other galaxy. No, the adventure takes place on the road. That's where the adventure happens. And they filled that adventure with important things that I believe are going to pay off in fruition later on. And so that's why, again, to me, this was not a filler episode. But anyway, guys, we're now going to throw it over to you. We're going to take the rest of our time here now and just take your guys' questions and hear what you guys have to say and what you guys want to talk about here. So let's get over and start doing that right now. We're going to start things off with Jake C., who writes, did you tell Erin not to watch it? Okay, you know about Erin, right? And her apps. Did you know about her absolutely deadly phobia?
Yes, and this is freaky even for me, so I can't imagine her.
You have to understand, I've told the story before. I took Erin Cummings to go see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, a cartoon, where there's one scene where a little itsy bitsy cartoon spider lands on Peter's hand for a second. I thought she was going to have a stroke. I thought she was going to die. Like the fear and the terror of that cartoon little tiny spider. I'm watching this thing last night. I'm like, nope,
Oh,
Aaron.
no.
And I started texting Aaron right away. I said, because Tom, Aaron's husband, he likes to get her to watch Mandalorian with him. And it's like, do not watch this episode. You will die. Because I'm totally convinced of that. So
There was which haven't seen, the spider egg giving you like the birth of a spider. Then you have 1,000 spiders running after you. Then you have the big monster giant spider who is really creepy. Yeah, she would, no way.
Yep. Nope. She wouldn't do well. She would not do well in that. All right. Lewis writes, everybody should have someone who wants them as much as Baby Yoda wants the frog lady's legs. Oh, again, let me bring up Baby Yoda. I got a picture up here with the Baby Yoda. And it's like, hey, look what I can see. Again, he didn't think he was doing anything wrong. It's like, hey, look. It's like, no, stop. Anyway, yeah. Oh, so adorable. So damn adorable. Okay. Next up, we've got James Argenta who writes, you can see the tank holding the eggs in the season 2 trailer on the plant where Mando runs into Sasha Banks. On the planet is probably what you meant.
Oh.
Where Mando runs into Sasha Banks. Of course, an ant alien in Reed's episode.
Next
of
episode.
Of course, what he means by that, for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, in Reed's episode. This episode, The Passenger, was directed by Peyton Reed, who is the director of Ant-Man and Ant-Man 2. I really like those movies. I did not recall that.
Oh, you're so perceptive.
Now I got to go back and watch the trailer again.
That is likely then the next episode, if not, and very soon.
And did I just not say, I've got a feeling we haven't seen The Last of Frog Lady? Now I got to go back and watch. Is that true, guys, in the live chat? Is that true that in the trailer, when he's on the planet where he sees Sasha Banks' character, that we see the for lack of a better term, the egg carton, the egg chamber,
incubator.
Jared, Nerevet, Saul, and everybody saying, yeah, that's true. There you go. I totally missed that. Thank you, guys. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
Nice.
Now. Okay. Next up, who was that? That was James Argenta. So we are now gonna go to Ryan Lohner, and Ryan Lohner writes, this may just be the closest we get to seeing the flood from Halo realized in a movie. There was a lot, actually, of like sci-fi homages going on in this episode. And you're absolutely right about that. But again, it was done in such a way and directed in such a way that I felt the anxiety of the chase. And I felt the excitement of the chase. I felt the thrill of the chase. And it was tense. Yeah. And it was tense. And I just thought a fantastic sequence. I thought an absolutely fantastic sequence. And so you're right about that, Ryan. You're absolutely right about that. All right, next up. Ben Burnside writes, I was in between you and Rob's thoughts. By the way, Rob didn't like the show. He didn't like the episode. He loved last week's, but he didn't like this one.
Okay.
I was in between you and Rob's thoughts on this episode. This came off as a throwaway episode to me, but a much better than average throwaway episode. Again, I just cannot agree with that. The very fact that we see that these eggs are going to be making another appearance, and so the purpose of these things, we're not done with the story thread on this. Again, the bonding between the two main characters, understanding Mando's place in the galaxy, the next step in his adventure being pointed in the right direction. To me, there's just way too much in here to call it a throwaway episode or a filler episode or anything like that. But that's just my take. That's just my take. It's perfectly fine that Rob didn't like it. And if some of you didn't either, that's totally cool too. Because there's probably going to be an episode or two this season I don't like, just like there was last season. But yeah, what can I say, man? I just totally dug it. All right, let's see. Next up here, Ben also writes, all the spider stuff was legit scary. If I was there, I think it would have just been frozen in fear. Love the giant spider chasing them from the top. And again, it's not just, oh, cool giant spiders. It was like legitimately the choreography of the chase.
Yeah.
The moments in the chase, every twist and turn around a corner, there was more danger and threats. It's like you kept asking yourself, how are they going to get out of this? And like your reaction to it was pretty visceral. Like you looked like you were getting pretty tense watching it too.
Yeah, no, it was legit scary. I felt like being chased in a haunted house. And it really, to me, Mando was in a lot of trouble. I mean, almost in as much trouble as he was in the season 1 finale when he didn't have any backup in that scene. But
Right.
I'm glad they got out.
And it just kind of reminds me too, like in shows like Mandalorian, the side quests, the journey, these are the narrative in shows like this. It's not like you take some shows like a Game of Thrones or something like that, where there is a definitive storyline and everything in the show is about following that storyline. And with shows like Mandalorian, that's not the case. The journey is the adventure. The individual episodes is the story of the show. And it comes together for a collective. And there is an overarching thing. He's trying to find this baby's family, but there's going to be adventures along the way. And that's key to a show like this. And that's just why I think a lot of people still haven't really wrapped their heads around the kind of show that this Mandalorian is. But, well, that's just kind of my take on it. All right, let's see. Next up, where do we leave off with? We're at... That was Ben Burnside. Coop TV writes, "Hey, John, big fan. Just want to show support." Thank you so much, Coop TV. I appreciate that, man. Thank you, dude. Raymond Verada writes, "Luke, I am your Appa." Paul San-Hyung Lee of Kim's Convenience makes his cameo as an X-Wing fighter. What were your thoughts when you saw him pop up in there?
I was the first shot of him. I was like, okay. And then there was the second shot where I started to have recognition. And I think that's when you and I turned to each other and we're like, is that Mr. Kim? It's great, and it's a show that we both love. I don't know how many people watch it. Clearly it's renewed for another season. So enough people watch it, but he's such a great character. And to see that actor come out of that role into something else, that's the first time I've seen him outside of Mr. Kim. So
me too.
It was cool. It was really cool.
And again, guys, if you guys have not seen Kim's Convenience, I'm telling you what, Canadian television, I'm Canadian, obviously, but Canadian television
coming from the Canadian
is destroying things. So it's not only Kim's Convenience is one of the best shows on TV, Appa, or Paul's character, Mr. Kim, or Appa as they call him, is like one of my
he's great
top 5 favorite characters on television. And on top of that, you had Schitt's Creek, which just had its series finale, won all the Emmys. I mean, Canadian TV's doing... Go and check out Kim's Convenience.
One more thing on Kim's Convenience.
Sure.
They're filming season 5, and I know this is not about Kim's Convenience, but I wonder if there will be a nod to Star Wars or Marvel, because two of the actors have gone off during off-season.
That's right. So for those of you who don't know, the new Shang-Chi in the upcoming MCU movie Shang-Chi is Appa's son.
Yeah, I know.
And now we've got Appa
Disney
in Star Wars.
Yep.
Kim's Convenience all over the place. Now we just need Uma in something, and then we're all good. Or Janet. All right. Let's move. Sorry. Now this is going to get totally sidetracked
Kim's
into a
Convenience
show.
After show.
That's what we got. We got to do a Kim's Convenience after show this year. Okay. But yes, I love that. Luke, I am your Appa. I'm going to be using that all the time now, Raymond. All right. Nay writes, the giant ant catcher in the beginning, then seeing who the director was. Oh, I mean, yeah, somebody else pointed that. It's like, oh, of course, we got the director of Ant-Man putting that in there. But
cute.
Here's the funny thing, though. Like, when the episode started, I didn't know who directed it. And I played this little fun game with myself. I don't look up to see who directed which episodes.
Right.
Because I just want to see, can I get a feel for who directed this episode? Mm-hmm. And I totally forgot that Peyton Reed was directing an episode this season. And I'm like, yeah, that totally was it. That totally was it. And I totally got that. All right. Let's see. What's next up? Next up is, I think that was Nay. And now we are on Senior Film, who writes, Mando better not leave any drugs lying around because you already know what Baby Yoda is going to do. I have a feeling, look, seriously, Senior Film, I think you just nailed something. I have a feeling this insatiable curiosity and mischievousness of Baby Yoda is something we are just getting introduced to now. And I have a feeling, as the baby's just a touch older now, I got a feeling this is going to become a problem for Mando.
Yeah.
I think this is going to cause more than one problem for Mando.
To your point, he's getting more comfortable with Mando, right?
Yes.
Like you said earlier in the episode, he runs to him and then, they start to take a nap together. And it's like, I feel like that relationship that they're cultivating is one of like a father and a toddler. And we're in the toddler stages of Baby Yoda right now.
We are in those toddler stages, actually. All right, great. Well brought up, Senior Film. Okay, next up, we've got Coop TV, who writes, how many seasons do you think it'll reach? Oh, that's a hard question. Because the main reason that's a hard question to answer is because Disney Plus has just started. We don't know what their philosophy is going to be. Are they going to try to stretch out shows as long as they can? I mean, look, Rebels, which was not on Disney Plus, but it was a Disney show, Rebels could have gone on a few more seasons.
Would it end on 4?
I can't remember if it was 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I can't remember. And because all you had to say, instead of next season being another year, because you can't get ultimately caught up to Star Wars A New Hope, you could say, no, it's the next week. If you want to, they could have, but they decided to say, nope, that's as long as this series is going to be. And I don't think we have yet gotten a sense of what is Disney Plus's attitude towards that going to be. Because it looks like some of these Marvel shows, some of them at least, are going to be like one season shows. We just want that's a special limited series, and maybe a couple of others will be ongoing series. So it's hard to say, but listen, you literally could go on forever because it's just a gunslinger out on the wild frontier.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a wild guess. I'm going to go 4.
Ah, that's my number as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Why were you going to say 4?
I feel like it's the pace of the episodes. Right. The narrative will end when Mando fulfills his promise. And I don't know. It just feels like a sweet spot to me in terms of the narrative and not going too long to where you're just wondering why is this show still on Disney Plus?
You know, you just made me think of something really interesting. Look, when Mandalorian was starting, pretty much nobody knew about Baby Yoda.
True.
We were just excited about Mandalorian.
Right.
We were excited about Mando. You can't have this show anymore without Baby Yoda. Like now you can't have the show without Baby Yoda. And I was getting ready to say, no, you can just keep going. You can have his further adventures once he fulfills his mission and returns the child to its people. But now that I'm thinking about it, no, you really can't. You almost have to start a new show. Because now, even though we all started watching Mandalorian, having no idea about Baby Yoda, and all we were watching it for was Mandalorian, I can't conceive of this show without Baby Yoda. Like, can they go on? Like, once he drops off Baby Yoda with his people, if he ever does find them, however many seasons it could take for him to do that, can they continue doing Mandalorian? Or do they just have to scrap it and make a new show and maybe bring Mando over? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, right now, as far as we know where they're taking the story, the Baby Yoda thread is the main story arc. But then there's also now the introduction of the Darksaber. And right. if Mando has any stake in wanting to reclaim that for the Mandalorians, then maybe that then becomes another longer term like story thread. But to me right now, his only purpose right now is to get Baby Yoda to his family, unless they introduce something else that's going to be an even longer story arc.
Yeah.
Or purpose for him, I guess.
Yeah. It's just that Baby Yoda has really become like, it's the thing that it's what made the internet blow up after the first episode aired, right? It was all about Baby Yoda. And so it's going to be interesting to see what they do from there. All right, let's keep going here. Let's see. Next up, that was Coop. Next up is Ben Rayner, who writes, spiders were cool. Gave me a Chamber of Secrets vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Great episode when Amy said she knew a guy. Did you think she meant Boba rather than Frog Lady? No, I because the Boba angle had been covered, right? Like in last episode, hey, we know of a Mandalorian out at Mos Pelagio or whatever the name of the town was and blah. That was the Boba Fett angle. So no, not to mention she mentioned a different world, and we know Boba Fett's on that world. He's on Tatooine. So no, I didn't think he meant Frog Lady, because I've never met Frog Lady, but I didn't think he meant Boba Fett. So yes, there was that. They're gonna have to figure out a way for Mando and her to communicate, though, other than using the droid's voice box.
That was very smart, though.
It was very smart. It was very smart. All right, let's see. Next up, we've got Drew Russell, who writes, I called my mom and said that this is legit the first time, where'd we go? Sorry, I lost my spot here. There he goes. I called my mom, writes Drew, and said that this is legit the first time Star Wars could give me nightmares.
Yeah.
I mean, no, he's absolutely right.
So scary.
I understand like the Minox, the cave, the Wampa, there's lots of different little parts in Star Wars throughout that are meant to be a little bit scary. That I've never felt anything as close to scary.
Oh, I have one.
Oh, wait, what's that?
Staring down the hallway and just hearing Darth Vader's breathing as he slowly starts to carve the entryway, and then it's that one scene where he like badass like kills everybody in the hallway.
Rogue One?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That also is scary to me.
Well, that's when they like
different scary, I guess.
Vader also became
You're gonna get murdered,
basically.
Yeah.
He basically became Freddy Krueger. But I agree with you, Drew. That was like one of the first times I've ever gone like that is legit like scary, thrilling. I've seen in Star Wars. I'm totally with you on that. Suthius writes, "Hey guys, this season might as well be called Mando Fights Monsters. I enjoyed this episode, but I hope it's not a running theme."
Actually, that's a good point. I didn't realize that both episodes so far have been Mando takes on a big beast thing.
Yeah. But I don't know, because first of all, it's only been 2 episodes.
Yeah.
He took on a big beast in the previous season as well. And there were 2 very different things, because one of the big beasts just represented a shared problem that the townsfolk and the Sand People had, and they just made that shared problem the Krayt Dragon. In this one, it wasn't even like a big boss beast. He's an environment where there's like everything there wants to kill him. So I don't know, but I think we will probably, now that we're going to get to whatever this next world is, I think now we're going to get into the next phase. So I don't think it's Star Wars. Whether it's a Rancor or a trash compactor eel or a Wampa or whatever, they're going to be monsters and creatures that pop up. It's Star Wars, so that's going to happen. But I don't think we need to worry. Who wrote that in there? Suthius. I don't think we have to worry about that, Suthius, because I don't think that's going to be like a running theme every single episode. I'll tell you what, though, if it does start doing it every episode, I'm going to join you in your frustration, but I don't think we have to worry about that. All right, next up. Logan Tamlin writes, "Is it just me, or does so many of the side characters' dialogue seem odd and corny, especially the curly-haired girl? Gives me prequel feelings." I will tell you what, Logan, I don't disagree with you, at least when it comes to that character. Like, the Marshal, totally good with. Frog Lady, totally good with. Whether it's Carl Weathers or Gina Carano, totally good with. Moff Gideon, totally good with. Who is the guy who played the first bad guy? Famous German director. Yes, you have the child.
Oh, Baz.
What's his name again? Why am I freezing? I love this guy. Why am I freezing?
What is his name?
It's, I was almost going to say Werner Herzog. Thank you. Yes, Werner Herzog. Werner Herzog, I thought his dialogue was great, but I concede to you, Logan, about her dialogue. And I don't know if it just feels that way because she's on Tatooine where the prequels happened. She's got those little pit stop droids working with you for that little slapstick comedy. Wah, 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 you know? I still like the character.
Yeah.
But I agree. Have you noticed any of the dialogue, like just feeling a little weird?
Hers in particular. But I did actually think to myself in this episode, oh, she's actually a little bit more palatable this time. Like, I think she's growing on me. That thought actually did cross my mind. Yeah,
I like the character, and I like the actress playing her. Mm-hmm. I hope they improve the dialogue for her. That's all. Because I do like the character. And I think we're definitely going to see more of her.
Yeah,
I just hope they improve her dialogue, just sharpen up her dialogue a little bit. All right, let's see. Next up, we've got James L.H. writes, "Hey, John and Ann. Couldn't join last year and didn't have Disney Plus in the UK until April. That sucks. Although having it later meant we had to wait less than your season 2.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll tell you what, James. You know that little feeling you get when you put on a jacket you haven't worn in a few months, and then you put your hands in your pocket and it's like, there's a $20 bill in there. I totally forgot I had something there. Or, oh my gosh, there's that thumb drive I totally forgot about. You know that? To me, I get this little joy rush when I realize, oh yeah, show I watch regularly, I didn't watch the last episode. And it's been out for like 5 days. And that little feeling you get of, now I only have to wait 2 days for the episode. There's something about that. There's a little joy rush I get when that happens. So I feel your joy. Like, it sucks. It does suck that you had to miss out on the first season when everybody else was watching it, James. But hey, the benefit is you got to watch season 1 and you didn't have to wait as long as the rest of us to watch season 2. So that's called looking on the bright side, my friend. All right. Keaton Toothman writes, hey, buddy, glad you enjoyed my new The Child Pop. It's huge, right? Anywho, Peyton Reed killed it. No, I agree. By the way, so I think if I'm understanding who sent this to me, I think Keaton Toothman sent me a picture of, you know how I've got my...
Indiana Jones.
I've got my Indiana Jones, right? Well, I think it was Keaton that sent me a picture of like this massive... Baby Yoda pop. Like, I think bigger than 1-to-1 scale.
Oh, wow.
Like, it looks pretty cool.
Wow.
It does look, and I agree. I thought Peyton Reed killed this episode. I thought he absolutely killed it. I was a big fan of it. Absolutely. All right. Suthius writes, I like how there are times when the characters would be backed into a corner and the camera lingers on Baby Yoda as though we'll see some force powers from him, but then something else happens. Okay, here's the thing about that. The reason I like from a cinematography point of view, because he's right. If you notice in the show, when something tense is happening, inevitably they'll give a shot of Baby Yoda. And yes, on the one hand, it makes me wonder if we're about to see him do magic hands. But there's something about cutting to the baby, observing what is happening, that adds to the tension of the scene for me.
Yeah.
You know, just that one little cinematography move, cut to the baby in the middle of this tension, and for whatever reason, to me, that elevates the tension. Maybe it's just hey, things are getting really tense. Let's put cute Baby Yoda on to alleviate the tension a bit. I don't know. Have you noticed that they're, especially in this episode, they were cutting to Baby Yoda a lot? What do you think their purpose was?
Yeah, I mean, for me, yes, I was curious to see if he would exhibit any force powers, but then I also questioned how cognitively he's obviously advanced because he recognizes when like Mando's in danger. But how much of that is he actually going to then try to fight back with him? I think we've seen some instances, but I also think, to your point, it's much more of a just to get somebody else's reaction that's in the room where it's happening.
Okay, let's move on here. Next up, we have Ishmael Maynor, who just sent in $1 to support the channel. Thank you so much, Ishmael. Appreciate that. Double Crit writes, I know it's supposed to be funny, but baby eating the frog lady's eggs was kind of dark to me. Those are her children.
It's like
is she just going to ignore this?
Yeah, it's like it's like Bow. Isn't that what it was called? What was that short?
The
called?
Pixar short.
Pixar, yeah,
Bow.
Where she ate the. Yeah, where she ate the bow when it was a kid. Yeah, I felt a little bit like that.
Well, I think the purpose of that was twofold. And both of these things worked great. Purpose number one, shock you.
Yeah.
Because you're right. If it wasn't a little bit dark, it just would have been another, oh, he found the little frog on the ground and ate it. Oh, cute. We've done that, right? They also Peyton Reed wanted to shock us. And they did. Like, my reaction.
Yeah, you were audible.
Yeah, Anne's not exact. I was audible. And then I'm like, what? When that happened. So they wanted to give us that experience. But again, I think it's re-emphasizing this isn't just another character. This is a baby.
Yeah.
Who I don't think fully grasps everything. I don't think the baby's thinking, oh, this is that nice lady's children.
No, that's what I question, the cognitive.
I'm just going to eat their children.
Yeah.
You know? It's not that. And so it's shock with humor. And you know what? Double Crit, I think the fact that it was a little bit dark is what made it kind of shocking. It's like, nature can be cruel, man. Nature
Although,
can be true,
do you think Baby Yoda learned a lesson? Because then he went after that baby spider and then they got into that mess. So
maybe.
Well, actually, no, because he tried to eat the eggs again after that all happened. Never mind.
Nope. He's too young to learn anything. Too young to learn anything. All right. Let's see. That was double crit. And we go. Ismail again sends in another super chat. Thank you, Ishmael. Suthius writes again. I like the small detail of how Frog Lady seemed to be bipedal for so long. That was when she went on all fours. She is stumbling and jumping into the walls.
Yes. I love that part.
Love that part.
I thought that was badass. I'm so glad you brought that up. I totally forgot about that part of the episode. That was so cool to me. I don't know what you thought about it, but I thought it was just, I didn't even think about the fact that that would be the way that she would run.
Also, I gotta fix your camera for a second. Something went wrong with it. My apologies, everybody. I gotta have your camera off just for a minute. I'll turn it back on in a moment. I forgot to turn the fan on it. The camera overheated. My bad.
Wow. That's a thing?
That's a thing. That can happen with cameras. Okay, so while I just cool Anne's camera down for a moment, let's go on and take another question. But we can still hear you, honey.
Okay.
All right, next up. But yes, that scene when she started running, that was actually pretty damn cool. All right, Southpaw 86 writes, do you believe Baby Yoda was initially attracted to those eggs because he felt force in them? That's exactly what my initial thought was. Okay, so the scene happens where Baby Yoda is walking up to the eggs, right? And he's standing outside of the outside of them, and he's kind of looking at them. And he's like, he puts his hand up to it and he's cooing, right? He's cooing a little bit.
And they kind of like the eggs get closer to the glass?
Felt like maybe that was just coincidental, but it felt like the eggs were being drawn.
Right.
So maybe that was just Yoda using the Force to Baby Yoda to pull them towards him or something. But that was my first thought, Southpaw, was that he's feeling a connection to them. But as it turns out, the only reason Peyton Reed was doing that was to add to the utter shock that I felt when we come back to him and he's like, whoop, and he's like down in these baby eggs. That was a big thing to me. That was a big thing to me. All right, let's see. Next up, we got Andy Joseph. And Andy Joseph writes, I love big monsters. In fact, I almost feel like I already got my Monster Hunter movie with The Mandalorian. It's true. You know what? One of the cool things about Mandalorian is that it's not one kind of show, right?
Yeah.
Like it's adventure.
Yeah.
And then it's a little mystery. And then it's a little comedy. And in this one, it's kind of a monster movie. There's a little horror in there.
Yeah.
And a little monster movie. And I think that pays off. Let me ask you, honey, when you're watching Mandalorian, which one of those strides does it hit best for you? Like when it's doing its comedy, when it's doing its action, when it's doing its horror kind of stuff? Like when is it really hitting on all cylinders for you?
That's tough. Maybe I do enjoy a good heist. Like, so the adventure does get me quite a bit, or the action, the battles. To be honest, I think a lot of people like the comedy, and it's fine. It's funny. It gives us like the personality of the director, whoever wrote the episode. But otherwise, I think it's the adventure of it, and even if it's slow paced, I enjoy it too.
So I'm just gonna fix your focus a little bit. Yay! There we go.
What about you?
I'm always focused. For me, it's the adventure part.
Yeah.
I guess that's part of the reason why I'm down for these episodes where it's just about building some character and the adventure that happens on the road. In this case, a space flight, but what the adventure that happens, that's why it works for me so much. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's see. Ismail Manior writes, a Baby Yoda in his nature reminds me of the intro to Yoda in V. Oh, in Star Wars Episode 5? Is that what you mean, Empire? And how he was all in Luke's stuff. Big fan of y'all since the Arrow after show. Oh, there's a little bit of a throwback. I mean, I don't know if there's I don't know if that connects. Yoda was putting on an act. In Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, Yoda was literally putting on an act to deceive. I don't think we were seeing Yoda's true nature. As a matter of fact, when we look at all this stuff, all of Yoda's stuff, whether it's in the animated form in Clone Wars and the brief appearances in Rebels, or whether it's in the prequels or whatnot, or in Return of the Jedi, they never give us any indication that that's Yoda's actual nature. So I don't know if I draw that connection there. But it did, when you look at Empire, it does remind you a little bit of Baby Yoda there. It sure does. All right. Thank you for that, Ismail. Appreciate the kind words, man. All right. Let's see. What's next? Samuel Shin writes, felt like the spider sequence was an homage to Alien and Aliens. Oh, absolutely it was. On a side note, you should show Aaron Arachnophobia with Jeff Daniels. No, I will never, Samuel, make the mistake again of showing Aaron anything with a spider in it. But look, everything from the eggs, the pods breaking open and everything, that was totally Aliens inspired. That wasn't an accident.
Yeah.
I don't think that was totally there, and I totally got those vibes, and I thought they absolutely nailed that, Samuel. Absolutely they did. All right, Ben Burnside writes, I love the visual effects in this episode with the background of space and in the plane chase. The look of space here reminds me of A New Hope. That's the other thing I was going to mention, Hun, is that I feel like, especially, it wasn't just all the spider chase, but between the X-Wing pursuit and then the spider sequence, I don't know that they've had as much like pure CGI visual effects, and I say that in a good way, as they have in this one episode. I felt like they put a lot into this episode. Did that stand out to you? Did you notice that, or did you just feel like it was just like another episode?
No, I think I agree. I think it was a little bit, but I'm also of the camp that like didn't know that they film everything inside in the big IMAX, like with the big IMAX screen.
Yeah,
so
their stagecraft.
I'm not well versed in recognizing if there's more CGI.
All right. Next up, we've got Morris Codes writes, the eggs were closer to chicken eggs than unborn babies, but still. Oh, but not to Frog Lady. Not to Frog Lady. To Frog Lady, those were her children.
I just had a thought. Okay,
What's
go
that?
ahead. No, go ahead. Keep going with your thought. I'll tell you after.
Those were her children. That was the future of her bloodline.
I know.
That was, I mean, it was what her and her husband were sacrificing for. So yeah, I mean.
But she also had a lot of them. There were like 20 of them.
That's terrible.
I know, I'm sorry. The other thought I had was like, for my Filipinos out there, it's similar to balut, what we eat. Which is,
I know balut.
I know. Okay, let's not talk about it.
Let's not talk about
for
that.
those of you that don't know, just look it up.
Even Joey Coy doesn't talk about that very much. No. Okay. Anyway, let's see. What's next here? I think it's James L.H. Yes, James L.H. writes, strange you said comparing to finding $20. On Wednesday night, I went to the gym, and when it was empty before the lockdown in the UK, no joke, I found $20 in my pocket. Well, see, and in Canada, you'll never know this, Joy, honey, until we move back to the great, the great land. When we move back to the great land, you'll never know the joy of once it hits September, maybe beginning of October, time to go into the closet and pull out the coats because it's going to get cold. Winter gets cold. It's not like here, baby. It's not like here where winter just means, oh no, it's 75. Brr.
It's cold right now.
It is not cold. It is not cold. It's funny. I take Ann to Canada. It's so cold. It's not good. It's like, I have a rule. I made up a rule with Ann. If you can't see your breath, you don't get to say it's freezing.
That's true. I am
anything below
following
71,
that rule.
And Ann is like, it's freezing. Anyway. So, but the joy of pulling out a winter coat that you haven't touched in 7 months, and then finding, all these things that you still had in its pockets.
Why do you keep so many things in your pockets and then forget?
Well, listen, when you live in a place where you actually have a fourth season known as winter, Anne was born in LA. When you have a fourth season, and you have your coat, like it becomes, you hold everything in your coat. Between wallets or pens or chains or a lot of stuff, and then sometimes you forget to take the stuff out when you put the coats away.
Brownies in my pockets. That's about it.
Do you want to tell that story?
No, it's not a story to be told on this after show.
I'm going to tell the story.
Well, it has nothing to do with the show.
I know, but I'm going to tell the story anyway because it's a great story. So Ann and I go out to this club one night, And we get home and we're both exhausted. So Anne doesn't even get changed into her PJs or anything like that. She just decides, I'm going to crash. So, okay, she crashes. We wake up in the morning and there's like this, I almost want to call it a shit stain on the blanket. And then I look all over the side. You had like all over the side. So Anne had a chocolate bar in her pocket that she totally forgot about and just left it and unwrapped. Unwrapped. This isn't a wrapped chocolate bar. She literally took chocolate out of her wrapper and stuck it in her pocket. She might have been drinking a little bit that night. And she stuck a chocolate in her pocket and then fell asleep in the bed.
Rations.
Rations, that's what you call it. I have to keep rations on me, honey. And then we woke up with melted chocolate everywhere. I thought it was funny. Okay, I'm sorry. Now she's probably going to tell a story about me at some point. Be careful what you do, Campea. All right, next up. Let's see. Where are we at here? Oh, yeah. We're at Suthius, who writes, Mrs. C overheated camera just with her presence.
Oh,
there you go.
My favorite chatter. Thank you.
All right. Eagles fan, keeping it real, writes, what if Baby Yoda turns out to be more Jansari than Jedi? Listen, I think...
What does that mean?
I think what... Everybody makes the mistake of making assumptions about characters in Star Wars. That every character... Now, granted, I have to admit that the Mandalorian only feeds into that by the fact that, oh, look, it's only the third creature we've seen of this species. Oh, and oh, look, it's a Force user too. So I don't know if they're going to lead up to like all of them or Force users, but I think at this point we can't make any assumptions about anything. I don't think anybody of Yoda's race, maybe they say Yoda's race is all Force sensitive. Maybe they do, but that doesn't mean Jedi. That doesn't mean Jedi. And I think we make the mistake of starting to make assumptions based on there were some models of this before in other Star Wars lore, therefore it's going to be this. And I don't think that's something we should let our minds get trapped into. Let's just see what happens with the baby. Let's just see what, without any assumptions about where it's going to go. Let's see what happens with the baby. It's a great question, though. All right. Next up, A. Cullen. I think it's A. Cullen. Writes, the following episode is not suitable for Aaron Cummings. Nope. Nope. I will never let her watch it, A. Cullen. Never let her watch it. Operation Spider writes, which is a perfect name for this episode. Spider. Plot twist. Baby Yoda culled the runts of the batch. There you go. Baby Yoda was actually just carrying out natural selection.
Oh, but I have a puppy that was a runt. No.
That's true. We have a dog named Lily that you picked out because it was the runt.
She survived.
She survived. And now she's a handful. Okay, let's move on here. Next up, last question of the day, and it's perfect because it's almost 5 o'clock. We got to wrap this up. Dakota Chrisup writes, was the giant spider on the plant look like one? I think you probably mean planet.
Yeah.
Was the giant spider on the planet look like one on season 3 of Rebels? Remember the Rebels base on the other planet? Ooh. And thank you.
But now I have to look that up.
I can't remember.
I love Rebels.
I know. And that's one of the shows that Ann and I would sit down and watch together every week. I cannot remember.
I can't either.
No. That was a different episode when Ezra was learning his ability to connect with creatures, right? That wasn't the same thing, was it? I can't remember it. I got to go back and watch Rebels again.
Oh.
Now, I got some people in the live chat saying it's actually the same.
Yeah.
You got a picture of it then?
Yeah.
Hold it up to the camera.
I think so. It looks pretty... How do I do this? Looks pretty much... Look at this thing behind Sabine. Can you guys see that? Maybe it's blurry.
Oh, that is the same.
Nice. I love so many connections in this show.
But that's weird. It's a totally different planet and a totally different environment. Oh, that's weird. All right.
I don't know.
Well, good observation. All right. I said that was the last one, but somebody snuck in one more. Actually, we got 2 more slipped in here. So cool. Guys, don't send in any more. Don't send in any more because we gotta end today's show. Tyler Eklund writes, did anybody else clearly tell the difference between Puppet Child and CGI? Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm so glad you brought that up because yes, absolutely yes. There was absolutely, you could tell. And you know what? Everybody says, oh, Puppet's always better. Puppet's always better. No, it's not.
Not in this episode, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know where or how.
It was like this thing.
Yes, it kind of was.
Passing around this thing.
And just kind of moving.
Yeah.
Like, they became this kind of accepted mantra that practical's always better. No, it's not. Sometimes practical is better. Sometimes it is. Practical is not always better. And there were shots in this episode that clearly I was like, oh my God, they needed to use CGI there. They really should have used CGI there.
Takes you out a little bit, but
it does pull you
fine.
out a bit. I mean, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, well, this ruined the episode for me.
Right.
But it's like, clearly that was something they should have done with CGI.
It's like running like this.
Yeah. By the way, my buddy Kevin Rubio just sent me this image, and I want to show it to you guys. So this is from the trailer, and clearly we see, yep, there's Frog Lady.
She's in the trailer too?
Yeah.
Oh, my girl.
And
and the baby.
And her husband is beside her. So we see Mando, Frog Lady with the baby canister on her back, and what's clearly her husband in front. So I'm guessing that's going to be the next episode. So thank you to Kevin Rubio.
Oh, she's going to come through in a big way, I think, for him.
I'm telling you, I think that there's going to be an honor payoff.
Yep.
I really do. I think there's going to be an honor payoff here. Thanks for sending that in. All right, last question of the day. Tristan Jones writes, hey, John, thoughts on the Old Republic series apparently coming to Disney+. We're really not here to talk about other stuff. We're here to talk about Mandalorian.
We talked about our stuff too, though.
Yeah, yes, we do. But look, until we get more information, because when you say Old Republic, that can literally mean a million things. Like, really, it's a million things. Look, I am a Star Wars guy. You make something Star Wars, particularly if it's not just connected to prequel stuff with, like, let's look at young Boba Fett. Let's look at young Jabba the Hutt. Let's look at young Chewbacca. Particularly when it's not that stuff, I'm on board. I am totally on board. But in saying Old Republic, here's my fear about anything Old Republic, is that if you say Old Republic, I think a lot of people are going to make the assumption that that means it's going to be Old Republic as we knew it from the games. And it may not be that. It could be a million different things. So I'm excited about any new Star Wars project, but let's see about specifically once they start putting out specifics about what this would be about. And we'll have to see. By the way, I haven't seen anything that verifies that's 100% happening. I haven't seen anything. I've read the reports, but I haven't seen anything that 100% verifies that. For me, at any rate. All right, guys, that'll do it for this week's installment of our spoiler discussion of Mandalorian. Ann and I will be back again next week to do this again. Thank you, guys. This was fun, and thank you for all your insight and pointing things out that we missed, and this is great. I love this. Honey, I love doing this with you. Thanks for being here.
Aww.
And where can people follow you and your baby Yoda?
You can follow me
Baby Yoda's talking to the mic.
Oh, hold on. Give me 1 second. He went quiet for a second.
Put him right up to the mic, though. It's so adorable. All right.
You can follow me at Ann Campea as well as Ann Cosplays on Instagram.
Thanks, honey. And thank you to you guys for being here. That'll do it for us for now. My name's John Campea. Until next time, my friends. It's still talking.
Okay, see you.
Okay, see you.